Hey there, you're listening to BD4, where there's no better way to get your Yankees and Knicks analysis. Yanks every series, Knicks every game, and MMA on occasion. Here's your host, RJ Carbone.
And a high drive into left center field. Stanley's going to watch another one fly. Are you kidding me? DiVincenzo a three. Bang! Bang! Knicks take a one
time to apologize to absolutely nobody.
at the wall. See ya! See ya! See ya! Mr. November. Anthony for three. Bang! That one goes down and the game is tied.
Rose, he shook up the world again.
I did it again. My God did it, man. I really just had
Gonna have to. Brunson running away. Oh my! He has been the best player to put on that uniform.
Ball game over. Yankees win. The Yankees win.
Okay. Well, the Knicks lose game 5, was that? That was game 5. 106 to 103. Welcome to the podcast. The Knicks continue to embarrass themselves on their home floor in Madison Square Garden. You cannot tell me that you're poised for a deep postseason run when you've already lost 2 of your 3 home games. Disgusting. Not that I think they're going to make a deep run anyway. I think they're done once they get to round 2. Yes, I said once. But last night was bad, regardless. The Knicks have not played good basketball this series, and they've been getting away with that, because they've done well, some good things at timely moments. And last night was another one of those ugly games for the Knicks. Really, OG Anunoby and Mitchell Robinson were the only 2 keeping you afloat. OG had a very good first half. He was great defensively throughout the night, but the offense was there in the first half. He was punishing switches early on the post. Mitchell Robinson, amidst all the bricks, was keeping the Knicks alive on the offensive glass, and his defense remains very strong in the pick and roll. But when your 2 best players are such an abomination, you're going to lose the game. And Brunson and Towns, whatever you call what they did last night, that cannot happen again. Brunson just had no touch. He was missing everything, free throws, field goals. Did not love the offensive process. Towns gave you no production, and the impact on the offense was not there. And his defense continues to get worse as this series progresses. And I kind of just want to go right into that, because it's going to be a short episode. But the Knicks last night, and we're going to talk about the offense because obviously judging by the score of a lot of these games, the offense is the major issue, but it doesn't mean their defense has been anything remotely close to good. And last night, the Knicks were picked apart in high coverage. Detroit, all night long, they were exploiting the Knicks' low man taggers, and very often that was Josh Hart. Now, it wasn't Josh Hart's fault. The Knicks got killed at the point of attack. And that's when you look at Karl Towns and how abysmal he was at the level. Just, I don't even want to say zero impact, because that implies he didn't make an impact in this game. He certainly made an impact defensively, and that was helping out Detroit. Just, it's the usual. When Towns is in high coverage, when he's not not doing what he's supposed to do when he's in high coverage, it's going to yield results that we've seen all year. It's going to yield the results that we saw last night, and that is allowing the ball to get to the short roll, inviting those 4-on-3s, because he's not contesting up there. His hands are down. He's not making any kind of deflections, or he's not making it tough to get to the pass lane. His stance is often poor. The technique, the fundamentals are piss poor. When Towns is at the level the Knicks are playing in an aggressive pick and roll coverage, he's either got to be fully committed to playing high, or he's got to be in a complete drop. You cannot half-ass it when you're in that coverage, because you are basically allowing a layup line. And then if you rotate over to that layup line, you're allowing the kick out for a 3. But last night, the Knicks were destroyed in the paint because of how bad Towns was at the point of attack. Right away, they were making Asar Thompson and Jalen Duren look like a phenomenal pairing off of the pick and roll, right? Early in the first quarter, you get a Cade Cunningham, Jalen Duren pick and roll. The Knicks played high with their 2 pick and roll partners in OG and Cat. OG fights over the top. Cat blitzes the ball. And so now the Knicks are forced to tag the roll from the weak side, with Cat not doing his job on the blitz. Because the ball gets to the short roll, now the Knicks have to tag it. And with Brunson on this particular possession, on Tim Hardaway Jr., who is on the wing, and Hardaway's a good shooter, he couldn't really tag. He had to commit to THJ. It was Hart who was forced to tag off of Thompson, who's not a shooting threat. He was on the weak side corner. So you got to pick one of two. Let me help off the non-threat, and I'll do the tag. So Josh Hart tags, but Detroit was doing a really good job of using Thompson to cut off of every single Josh Hart tag. And so Duren makes a nice pass off the short roll with Asar Thompson cutting from the short corner. And it results in an easy 2 points. Late in the second quarter, another possession that stood out. It was another Cade Duren pick and roll. The Knicks were still in a high coverage with OG and Cat. OG this time gets caught behind once Duren flips the screen. Towns again tries to contain the ball, but the Knicks are exploited again on the backside with Josh Hart as low man tagger. Duren makes the pass off the short roll for another 2 points. Same exact thing. Early in the third quarter, this possession also stood out to me. This time, you get Tim Hardaway Jr. setting a ram screen down low to free up Jalen Duren for another Cade pick and roll. Now, the Knicks actually recover on this one pretty fine, and then they get to double the pick and roll again. But again, Pistons beat the Knicks on the blitz. They got their roll, and now Hart is once again forced to tag as low man. So Duren makes another good pass off the short roll with Thompson at the basket, and it results in another 2 points. Middle of the third quarter, you get another Tim Hardaway Jr. ram screen to free up another Cade Duren pick and roll. This time, OG can't get over the top, and Cat is late to the level. And so Cade gets right past the point of attack and into the open lane because of this. And once again, Hart's forced to pick up the roll, so you get an easy cut for Thompson yet again. And then you get the possession, which was the nail in the coffin with about 30 seconds left in the game. The Knicks this time pre-switch it with Deuce to get Towns out of the action completely. They've seen enough. And Deuce does his job by switching the ball screen. But OG doesn't switch it, so the Knicks now have 2 on Cade again. That leaves with Detroit once again. It leaves them with the numbers on the back line for an easy 2 points off the short roll. That was the nail in the coffin. It put the Pistons up 5 points with 30 seconds or less than 30 seconds left to play. So Detroit, with the way that Towns is playing these pick and rolls, with the lack of commitment to being aggressive in an aggressive coverage, they're finding counters for when the Knicks are playing high. When the Knicks are at the level, it's just not worked because their big man, who is just not doing his job effectively. And I don't know if you're at a point where Thibs has to adjust back in terms of, does he go into a different coverage? Does he go into a drop? Do you go back into drop? You saw flashes of drop last night, but in my opinion, if the Knicks play drop, you're kind of playing right into Detroit's hands. Like, I feel like that's what Bickerstaff wants you to do. Doing what he did last night, I feel like Bickerstaff's happy because he thinks, like, okay, now they might go back to a drop. And if the Knicks are playing drop, you are welcoming Cade into his mid-range spots with ease in that type of coverage. So I don't know if that's the answer. I do think the Knicks should 1,000% absolutely, in this particular matchup, especially if the Pistons continue to go small for stints as they've shown, the Knicks should 1,000% be going to these Mitchell Robinson lineups way more, where Cat's hiding at the 4. He's on a wing. He's not put into action, and you've got Mitch playing drop coverage in the pick and roll with OG still at the point of attack. That might be what you have to do, because this is not working, and I'm not sure it's ever going to work. This is the problem, right? We've heard for years. When the Knicks were trying to get Towns initially, we heard it a lot. We heard it so much. Towns is not a drop big. So when you adjust from that and you play him up at the level, if he's not fully committed to that, he's not much of a help there either. You have to be one way or other. You cannot be half in. So that has been the root of the defensive problems for the Knicks. And then Thibs kind of continues to be a problem for this offense. And I will beat this dead horse until it comes back to life. But it's spacing, lineups, rotations, play calling, strategy. That all goes hand in hand. And it starts with the head coach. It's a very top-heavy rotation where this head coach will stick with his starting 5 way too often throughout these games. It's template coaching. He doesn't get creative and mix and match. He sticks with the starting 5 that's been way too underwhelming for months now. Since the new year, they've got a negative net rating. Since the All-Star break, their net rating is -9 point something. It's just not working. It was once again too much Brunson only. Like, it was just Brunson pick and roll into an isolation for him to get the matchup advantage. And the funny thing about that is the matchup advantages he's getting are not advantages. Like, when you're getting the switch onto a wing, that's not an advantage for Jalen. So Thibs is relying on advantage creation. And when the Knicks don't have more than one ball handler outside Brunson, that's not an offense to go to. And sure, like, we can talk all we want about how a head coach change can help mitigate some of those issues. You know, and once the Knicks lose to Boston, I'm sure that's going to be a conversation. Yes, I said that. But, like, it's also a little more than that. Again, nobody can dribble or effectively pass out of a drive other than Jalen. When the Knicks are not getting paint touches, advantage creation becomes very difficult for them. They're not doing enough considering the personnel that they have. They are obviously way more talented than Detroit, but they're not doing enough with that personnel. That's on coaching. They're never taking advantage. They're never taking advantage of how dynamic Towns is, whether it's posting or three-point shooting. Right? When Towns has the wing mismatch off of the cross match and it's Tobias, They're not spamming post-ups enough. And if they do go to the post-up, the player placement on the floor is often very poor, right? The spacing's abysmal because they have Hart a lot of the time, or during the course of the season, you've seen Precious a lot of the time on the weak side corner, which is going to invite easy help defense instead of putting the non-threat on the weak dunker spot, where if the defense does decide to commit to the help, you have an easy look. You have an offensive rebounder right there. And then when Towns has when he has the big on him in a traditional setup, and in this case it's Jalen Duren, they're not spamming the 1-5 pick and roll enough. They're not going to the 1-5 pick and pop enough. And that's so unacceptable. Again, with this roster and with Cat, it's so unacceptable for this team to be taking the amount of 2-point shots and mid-range shots that they are. When you've got one of the greater dynamic big mans who can shoot better than every big man in this league, and when you got the amount of spacers and shooters that you do outside of them, it's not acceptable. They're not looking for him enough as a trailer. When you give Towns the ball in transition and semi-transition as the trailer, and he's right behind the ball handler, he kills backtracking bigs in transition when he's going downhill like that. He's exceptional when he lets it go from 35 feet out in transition. It's not happening consistently enough. Just some of the things that I was seeing last night were jarring, from this head coach. Brunson leaves the game with 3 minutes left. The Knicks are down 2 points. Nothing was written. There was no ATO there. It results in this possession where it's a terrible Towns fadeaway on the post against Tobias with bodies around him. The Knicks didn't get Brunson back in the game there at the very end. They didn't call a timeout at the end. They had one left, whatever. I didn't mind that at the time, to be honest. But how many times in this game, or really in this series, are they taking advantage of the roster they have? Taking advantage of Brunson and pick and roll with anything other than a basic pick and roll. The amount of times that this season, or really since Brunson's been a Knick, where the Knicks run a double drag and they score out of it, it's been really efficient. But they're never running double drags out of those pick and rolls. They're not going above and beyond for that. For the best pick and roll guard arguably in the NBA. It's basic. They're way too slow getting into their sets. The first possession of the game, the Knicks run a wedge screen for Towns to get a post up. Okay, good. But Duren's really physical off the screen, switches it, so he takes the action away because now he's on Towns on the post versus Tobias, so you can't really go to that post up. So the Knicks pivot to a Mikal Bridges pick and roll with 7 seconds left on the clock now. Mikal's not quick enough to turn the corner on Cade, and it results in a terrible 3-point heave from Hart with 1 second or 2 seconds left. They need more tempo. They're too slow. They're going through the motions on their sets. That's why you saw early in this game when Josh Hart was taking the ball up, it produced much better offense because it was quicker. They were pressuring Jalen. And then a few minutes later, you got a possession where Towns is on the post surveying the defense. The Knicks have 2 cutters going to the same spot on the floor to completely bunch up the spacing. And that's something that happens way too often. So that's it. Just some offensive stuff, some defensive stuff, some coaching stuff. Very basic episode, 20 minutes. I'm not going to go deeper into that. So what we're going to do is we're going to head to our final break here. And when we get back from break, we'll wrap it up with our trivia question, and that's going to be it. Stay with us. Be back in a few minutes, episode 855. BD4 is available on social media for those who want to follow. You can find BD4 on Instagram at BD4Pod. You can find us on X at BD4Pod. And you can find us on Facebook by simply searching BD4. Hey guys, just a quick reminder, this podcast is also available in video format on YouTube. So be sure to go over to the YouTube channel, BD4, subscribe, like the videos, comment, and tell me how much I suck or maybe how much you like the video. We'd very much appreciate it. Don't have time to sit down and watch a video? You can listen to BD4 on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. Don't forget to give us a 5-star rating and review on Apple Podcasts. And you can also watch the video format on Spotify too. If you feel like supporting the podcast, you can Venmo at Robert-Carbone-JR-28. We really appreciate your support. Do you enjoy Yankees baseball but are tired of hearing me yap? I have a suggestion for you. Go check out Yankee Crazy Podcast. Greg Gill is a Yankees podcaster on Apple Podcasts and Spotify, and he's now selling merch. Go to yankeecrazy.myshopify.com. Stay connected with us. Visit BD4blog.com to explore our blog, tune into our latest podcasts, and follow us on social media. Thank you for being a part of this community. Okay. Welcome back to episode 855. What a tough loss. I still think the Knicks will be fine as far as this series goes. Let me be clear on that. I think they're absolutely going to get dog-walked in this next series to Boston, but I do consider this series over. I'm confident in saying that. I don't respect the Pistons as a playoff opponent. So I do think the Knicks will win this series. Anyways, I just had to get that out there. Let's wrap it up with our trivia question here in 855. Our question here: Willis Reed led the 1970 Knicks in playoff scoring with 426 points. Who is second on the team with 321 playoff points? All right. So that's our trivia question for this one. I'm going to go. I got some things to do. Appreciate you all tuning in. Short episode. When they lose games, it's kind of hard to really get into it, but I think they'll be fine. Appreciate you all tuning in. See you soon. Well, if you made it this far, that means you listened to or watched the entire episode. Thank you. Just remember to follow, subscribe, download, rate and review, and all that fun stuff to help out the podcast. And I will see you in the next episode of BD4.